You know in Passant? Well, I think it's boring. So imagine this, in Passant, but long. In Passant no longer stop after one capture, it just keeps going and going, taking piece after piece in a single move. And this is not where it ends. Sure, if you accidentally line your pieces up in the diagonal and then allow en Passant, this pawn will take everything you own. But on top of that, if it reaches the end of the board, it can still straight up promote to a queen. This little pawn isn't just a simple pawn anymore. If given the chance, it becomes the most powerful piece on the board. And I learned a very important lesson about juggling thousands of moving parts at once. We'll get to that in a bit. Let me explain. I'm turning Anarchy Chess's most ridiculous ideas into a real chess website. And if long passant is what it takes, long passant is what it will receive. First thing first, if you want a pawn to be able to promote after long passant, pawn should first be able to promote, because right now if a pawn walks up the board, it gets to the end and just kinda stands there, hoping for the best. It reminds me of myself sometimes. So now when you get to the end of the board, you get this cool little drop down where you can select the promotion piece. It almost worked the first try. Almost. On a completely unrelated side note, have you ever thought about how every pawn can become a queen? Does it mean every pawn is a girl and chess is actually a battle between two harems? Or maybe they're gender fluid. Or maybe none of it matters because they can literally become a tower. And yet, they can also become a nuke, if you're wondering. But before we get to long passant, there's a pretty big problem with this site. It's not the fact that the homepage is completely empty, and it's not the fact that the settings page does not particularly exist. It's that unless the site has many players, which let's be honest it won't, getting matched is very difficult. How are you supposed to know exactly what pool people are playing in? Well, do I have you covered? You can now see open challenges. Whenever you enter a pool, your seek will show up here for others to accept. On another side note, before implementing this I just casually wrote everything in the backend from Akka.net to Orleans. Small little 2 days 20 minutes coding adventure. So when you enter a pool, everyone who could match with you, so a similar rating and not blocked, not that blocking exists yet, but I'll implement them at some point, probably maybe someday, should see it and be able to click to join. Simple, right? No, because everyone who could match with you makes this a nightmare. If I just shouted new 6 to everyone, I would either have to duplicate compatibility logic on the frontend, or the frontend would have to ask the backend and I would get many requests for every seek. Basically, I don't want to announce ERSL to the entire planet. My first attempt was ambitious to say the least. Every player basically had their own little mailbox, and each pool was mailing new 6 letters to all of them. It worked perfectly fine in testing, but my spidey senses were tingling, so I just quickly wrote a thread with 1000 connections. A single server should be able to handle it easily. Unfortunately, my approach sucked, and after creating a seek, it took way too long to process and show up. The thing is, I thought it would do all those compatibility checks concurrently, making it very fast, and it probably would have if I had hundreds of servers, each with just a couple of connections. But even then, the overhead of sending thousands of little "hey, new seek" messages will slow things down a lot. So I had to rethink it. Instead of sending thousands of messages, what if I just sent a single message to a single place that keeps track of everyone who is watching seeks and be able to check compatibility with each one? After all, after benchmarking compatibility checking, I know I can do tens of millions of checks per second, so we should be good to do them all in one place. But now there's another problem. This single place has to handle all the computation for everyone connected on every server on every cluster. Even if compatibility checking is really fast, this is still a massive bottleneck. So the solution was simple. We can split the work across multiple of these, with sharding. Now that Open 6 are working, I got a little ambitious and wanted to take it a little further. Before, you could only seek in a single pool at a time. Open a second tab, try another pool, was not supported. So I completely rewrote it. Now, a single connection can seek in as many pools as it wants. That means one player could be seeking in 5 different pools at the same time, all visible to anyone who could match with them. Perfect if you want to snipe any new seek that comes up. This was extremely complicated and confusing to implement. I don't know why I put myself through this. This also creates a tiny little bit of a massive problem. What if someone is seeking in 2 pools and both of these pools match at the exact same time? Suddenly, you are about to be cloned into 2 games at once, which is unwanted. So the solution was simple. I would just make it so every pool will only check matches one after the other in sequence. This way, when the seek gets matched, I would know to cancel all other seeks that this connection was seeking. And sure, it worked, technically, but architecturally it was a disaster. Not only do all pools now have to wait for their turn to match, which wasn't ideal, but wasn't a huge concern, I just hated the fact that we are relying on the side effect of a match to prevent two matches from happening at the same time. This is very fragile. The second solution I came up with is connection reservation. When a pool finds a potential match, it asks the player, "Hey, do you have a spare connection for this game?" If the player has any connection seeking in this pool that has not yet been matched or reserved, it reserves it for this match. Only if both players can provide the free connection does the game actually start. Okay, it's now time for long Passant, and trust me, this is ridiculous. Instead of just taking the one piece next to it, like a normal civilized pawn would, a pawn doing long Passant can capture every enemy piece in its path. It just keeps going and going until it either reaches the end of the board or hits a piece that blocks it. And when it hits the last line, it has no mercies. It will promote, and probably be captured right after, let's be honest. If you're not careful with en passant, this little pawn can completely flip the game on its head. It's absurd, it's ridiculous, and I love it. You see this button? Well, it doesn't do anything, yet. Sure, we are in Anarchy Chessland, but even here you can escape the civilized world entirely. What I'm trying to say is that we need to implement draws. You can still offer a draw to your opponent if you're feeling generous, or if you're in a completely losing position, works too. Classic draw rules also still kind of apply here. Threefold repetition and the 50 moves rule are still a thing, but stalemate? Hell no. First of all, hot take, but in my opinion stalemate should equal a win in regular chess. But regardless, stalemate is actually impossible in this variant. In chess 2 the king can be captured. There are no checks, there is no checkmate, you can just blunder your king and lose the game on the spot. Well, I haven't actually implemented that yet, but it will be the case. So unless you somehow create a position that is literally impossible to reach, there will always be a legal move. Chess 2 is actually coming along pretty well. I can see the finish line in sight, but there are still many new rules and pieces to be implemented. Next episode, king capture will be legal, and a couple new pieces will mayhaps be added. I'll have to see where this goes.